Hi guys, I'm one of the developers working on Project 5 Sightseer, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes showing you how to get up and running quickly. So the first thing you want to do, if you're starting a single player game, is give it a name, press start, a random world will be generated. You can click the randomize button and create any number of new ones until you see a world that you like. So let's say we like this one. Then you can configure any number of properties in the world. Some ones to take note of are the encounter timer. So 1800 seconds means 30 minutes between random NPC encounters. Sometimes you might want more, sometimes you might want less, so you can change that number. The resources are tweaked for a multiplayer server because these settings are based off of the to share in online server. If you're playing single player, you might want to increase that. For this demo, I'm just going to increase it to 2 times the normal amount of resources, which means they'll be all over the place. The next item that you might want to take a look at is the science cost, and that just determines how much science you need to research before you unlock the next level in the tech tree. 24,000 science units is a fairly decent amount for a multiplayer server, but in single player you may want to reduce it to somewhere around 10,000 for this demo. I'm going to make it 8,000 just so that it goes quicker. And then the stuck timeout, so if your vehicle gets stuck and you need to get it out of place, is set to 180 seconds. The go-to timeout is set to 7,200 seconds or 2 hours. If you want to play with a friend and you want to quickly go to where they are, you may want to decrease that go-to so you can just jump to where they are. That looks good enough for now for starting, and then we'll now focus on the world here. Depending on where you start, you'll be in a different biome, and it tells you at the bottom of the screen here that what biome it is. So this is Green Bluffs. If you press the play button, it will give you a confirmation dialog and show you a screenshot of the biome. The icon in the upper left-hand corner tells you how steep the terrain is. If you're just starting off, you probably want a green flat terrain. But in the flat biomes, you will not get as many metal resources as in the mountainous biomes. So you may want to start at the border of a mountainous biome or someplace with a number of different biomes so that you can get the feel of which ones you want to play in. The more northern biomes are snowy, so you can have a tundra, and the southern ones are more desert type biomes. In between, you have your grasslands and hills, temperate forests, so with some slight hills. You probably don't want to start off in a mountainous area with really steep hills, such as the Verdant Canyons, because the starter vehicle is not very good at getting up hills. Once you have other vehicles or even flyers, it'll be much easier to navigate those areas, and you can travel to them at any time. So let's find a good place to start. You can zoom in and just look around for something that might work. Let's just keep looking here. I'm just looking for something with a little bit of mountains with other flatlands beside it. Let's see if there's anything up north here. Glacial canyons, frozen crags, tundra, northern slopes. Okay, so let's look for a place around here, the northern slopes. Frozen crags is an extremely difficult area to navigate, but the tundra is relatively easy. So let's start here in the tundra and click accept. Okay, so we started at nighttime. It's May 12th, so it's a little dark up north. It's also 4 in the morning. So let's first start off by turning on the scanner by pressing 2 or clicking this icon down here. And that will display the resources in the radar in the upper right hand corner. And we can drive over in the direction of them. You want to use the radar to make sure to find it at nighttime. You'll want to use the radar and stay away from the mountains, which you can see in red, and the flatter areas are in green. And you want to find the various resources that are available in the area. The ones with the anvil icon are hard metals, and so in this case nickel. And hard metals can be most of the starting items require hard metals to get started. So any hard metal will work. So let's open up the build window. So to start an outpost, we need an area that has the resources that we want to make the items that we're going to need. We most definitely will need solid storage crates, and they require 4,000 hard metal. So if I mined this nickel, 4,000 units of it, and then I could go into my inventory and convert it to hard metal. So we'll need that. We also need a power source. So you can use solar panels, which require hard metal, silicon, and copper to build. So we would want to look out for those resources when finding a place for building the base. The wind turbine requires aluminum, silicon, copper, and iron. So we want to make sure that we have the iron and aluminum most likely in our base, if not really close by. And then if we don't want to use wind power or solar power, you can always burn various resources using a small combustion chamber, and they just require hard metal, silicon, and copper. So for the most part, to start off, the 3 resources that you will need, like 3 or 4, let's say 4 resources that you will need are silicon, copper, iron, and aluminum. If you don't have those 3 resources nearby, it's going to take a while to get started, and you're going to be driving back and forth for a long period of time. Once we have power in the outpost, you can use it to extract more resources using a small ore extractor, which is, again, hard metal, copper, and silicon, so you can get started quickly. But what you ultimately want to do is build a science lab. And once that's built, the scientists in that building can research new technology, and you'll be able to unlock new buildings, new vehicles, new weapons. Anything in the game will be unlocked through the science lab. And that also requires hard metal, silicon, and copper. Now, silicon is a very abundant resource in the world. You can find it on any beach or there are some silicon nodes. So anywhere around water, you're good to go. If you're not around water, you want to keep an eye out for that node. The benefit of having a silicon node versus the beach is you can put an extractor, small ore extractor, on it, and it will mine the silicon for you. At the start of the game, you probably will just want to be near a beach and pick up the sand that way. So what we'll do right now is drive around a bit and keep an eye out for those resources. One way to discover resources faster is to use the prototype scanner's scanning pulse, which is this icon down here on the skill bar. It has a cooldown of 30 seconds, so you can't use it all the time. But by pressing it, it will tell you which resources are in the scanner's radius. So in this case, there's a large nickel resource, a tiny geothermal, heat, medium copper, huge crude oil, huge manganese, and a basic scouting drone is at one of the green asterisks that is this one here on the radar. So we'll probably want to go over there and pick that up. That scouting drone will actually be very helpful at nighttime. It can light up the area for you. The geothermal nodes in the north are also super beneficial because they provide a free source of electricity. If you but you can't. You need to unlock the building to access them. But you will be able to, once you've unlocked the tech, use them as a clean, free energy source. If you're in a warmer biome, the heat difference makes it less beneficial. So they're normally only used up north. So let's, first off, let's drive and get that small drone. And then we'll continue looking for a new place to start the outpost. To pick up the drone, you just press G to grab it, and it goes into your inventory. What you can then do is drop it on the ground, right click on it, and select follow me, and it will fly up into the air and follow your vehicle as you scout around. If you have one of these drones and you want to look around, you can take control of it and you can fly over mountains and visit other things within the area of your vehicle. It has a remote control range, so it will stop you from going too far away from the vehicle. You can also press this button on the skill bar to return to the vehicle at any time, and it will resume following the vehicle. So over here is a copper node. It's a medium, so it's not the greatest, but we'll check it out, see what else is around the node. You usually want a large or a huge node with these sorts of metals. You check the map to see what else is around in the area. So to the east are mountains, to the south is tundra. So let's start going to the south, see what's down there. Okay, so this looks like a good place to start. There is a nickel node, chromium, copper, iron, and silicon on the ground here in sand by the base of this mountain. So what we want to do is start an outpost, and the cheapest way to start an outpost is either with a flag, which requires 3,000 hard metal, or with a storage container, which requires 4,000 hard metal. So we're going to need storage containers anyway, so let's just mine enough resources for that container. Now, either the nickel, copper, or iron can be used to mine, as they have the anvil icon on them. So I'll go over here because there's nickel as well as copper. We can open our inventory and see what we're getting. If you don't want gravel, you can right-click on the mining gun and turn off collect gravel. You don't need it until you have enough technology unlocked to build foundations. So for now, we can just discard it. If you discard anything out of your vehicle, you can right-click it and click dissolve, and it will merge it back in with the environment. It never truly goes away. So let's mine here until we have enough metal to build a storage container for silicon, copper, and iron. So we'll probably need at a minimum 3 containers. As you mine, you'll deplete the area that you're mining, so you'll want to move to a slightly different spot on the side of the mountain. You also have to wait for the power to regenerate. That's the blue bar above the vehicle. Once the power is regenerated, you can start mining again. Eventually, you will be able to unlock new power generators to replace the prototype power generator, and you'll be able to mine longer. Also, if you're within your outpost and you're mining, you will use the outpost's electricity to mine. So if you have enough electricity left over, you can just mine continuously with your vehicle. But at that point, you typically also have combustion chambers and small ore extractors, so you don't need to do that at least in your outpost. So we can take the nickel in the outpost and convert it to hard metal, as well as the chromium and copper and iron. So this way we can quickly get up to the 4,000 hard metal, or we probably want 12,000 hard metal to build enough solid storage crates to get started. While you're waiting for it to replenish its electricity, you can just convert to hard metal. Okay, now that we have enough hard metal mined, we can place a few storage containers to store all these metals going forward. So we want one for hard metal. So we can convert this to a hard metal one and click refit. We also want one for copper. So we'll change this to copper, refit. Definitely need one for silicon. And probably also need one for iron. Click refit. And this NPC just dropped something in my inventory. Let's see what it is. It's another scouting drum, which we don't really need. We can get a storage for this later, but for now we'll just drop it on the ground. So now that we have space to store our materials, what we will need first is some sort of power source. Because we're up north, we probably have to go with wind power. Solar power is only good during the day, and if you don't have batteries, which we don't right now, it's kind of useless. So, and our outpost does not have access to anything other than the metals, so chromium, copper, iron, and nickel. So as we don't have any power source, we need to go with wind power. And that requires each wind turbine to have 2,000 aluminum, 1,200 silicon, 1,000 copper, and 1,000 iron. And we're going to need a number of wind turbines, as they only generate 2 electricity per tick when they're operating at their best. The science outpost requires, I guess it doesn't say here, but it requires 25 power to operate at 100% efficiency. We want to hit that efficiency in order to unlock the science quickly. So we will require a number of wind turbines. So I'm just going to collect these resources now until we have enough to build them all. Okay, now we've collected enough resources to build a science lab and a number of windmills to get us started. So let's place it anywhere. So it requires 5,000 hard metal, 4,000 silicon, 3,000 copper. So we'll place that down. Doesn't matter where. And now this is trying to draw 25 electricity per tick. So we need to place a lot of windmills down. And I don't believe I have enough to fully power the science lab, but it can operate at partial power. So what you want to do is find locations that you can reach up high and try to get them as close to 99% efficiency as possible, which probably won't be possible with the current vehicle. You need a flyer or the ability to put windmills on poles. Okay, so now that the windmills have been placed, we now should have enough electricity to run the science lab. So first we look at the 24-hour summary. It says we've got 16 wind turbines generating 25.7 power on average per day, and we're not using any of it. So when we go over to the science lab, by clicking the science beaker icon here, we have a list of all of the stuff that we can research now. So protection will get you different types of armor and a new wheel for the vehicle. Electronics will get you a whole bunch of stuff, such as a miner's companion to speed up the mining process, a power generator, which would greatly help by speeding up the time it takes to refill the energy on your vehicle. A new motor that has a higher top speed. A scanner that can be upgraded once we get into that. An integrated sensor suite for the vehicle that's improved over the prototype one. An integrated computer which will make battles, it'll make your vehicle target onto enemies automatically in battles, so you'll get a lot more hits in. Okay, well, we'll set this quest here to find aluminum, and then after the AI targeting chip, there are different types of batteries. So we'll have access to lead acid batteries, nickel cadmium, and lithium ion batteries. Or we could research manufacturing, which gets us platforms and containers to hold items. Foundations gets you all the concrete foundations, and chemistry gets you a small reaction chamber and an external gas collector for your vehicle, so you can pick up stuff like methane or anything that you can use to burn afterwards. So I think what we should start off with is electronics, is that will get us the most vehicle upgrades and batteries for, so if we want to use solar panels, we will be able to store the electricity. So we'll start that researching, and now this guy has asked to find some aluminum, so we know where that is. Just follow the marker to the aluminum now. So now that we've reached the aluminum with him, he's given us an armor upgrade. So if we open up the inventory, we can drag the armor upgrade onto our vehicle's armor, and it will upgrade it by 1 level. The number on the upgrade specifies the maximum level that it can upgrade to. So if it was a 2, then and you had no upgrades on your armor, it would go up to level 1. It only does 1 level at a time, and it wouldn't be able to go higher than a +2. And by upgrading the armor, it adds modifiers such as the threat generation modifier here to your armor. The more you do this, the higher your items upgrade, and the better you will be in battles. I'm just going to check out these containers that are lying around here to see if they have anything useful while we wait for the science to finish. So diesel we don't really need because we don't have diesel engines. And we'll just go over here and see what this one is. A mining beam turret. So we'll grab that one, and we have this prototype mining beam turret, but this one is a regular mining beam turret that can be upgraded, so it's best to use that one instead of the prototype. And we can get rid of the prototype one now. We can just discard it. And if we want it to disappear from the world, we'll just dissolve it into the environment. Now heading back to the outpost, let's just check the science lab now that we're back. And we have researched half of the science. So we'll just look for something else to do in the meantime. Let's see what a power gen requires. So it requires 3,000 aluminum on top of the silicon, copper, and iron that we already have. So let's go mine that. There we go, the research is finished. Let's go back to the base and see what we can make. Okay, looking at the build screen now, we have some new items here. We've got the batteries, but we don't have lead around, so we can't build the cheapest of the batteries yet. Nothing there, nothing there, and nothing there. Although we may want to build a small ore extractor soon. We've got no vehicles, but we do have minor companion, but we don't have enough magnesium for that. The AI computer we do have enough for, and that will help us in battles. A new motor for the vehicle, which would be very helpful. A power generator, which would be very helpful for mining. Then we got scanners, and an external storage container. I think we should build first a power generator, and then we can equip that in the vehicle over top of the prototype generator, and we now have extra power, 5 extra power per tick. What we do need to build is a small ore extractor, so that requires more copper and silicon. So let's grab that now, and once those are in place, mining materials will be much easier because we'll get half of them just from the base mining itself. Okay, now that we have enough materials to build a small ore extractor, we should place it somewhere around copper and iron. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get away with 1 or 2, but let's try it out. Yeah, it looks like we'll need 2. So let's put it as close to the copper as possible to get the most of that. So let's put it up here in this gap. Okay, and we probably also, now that we're able to mine chromium, nickel, and iron, we probably want to make sure that we have containers for those materials so that the energy isn't wasted. So now we can look at the 24-hour resource summary. So the science lab is no longer working on anything, so we have an excess of energy. We will want to fix that in a few minutes, but we also want to look at say the amount of copper coming in. We now get 2 copper per tick from the small ore extractor, and the amount in the container is slowly increasing over time. So next we want to look at the science lab and see what we can research next. So we have enough hard metal and silicon to research new wheels and shocks for the vehicle, and we now have all the other research that was there before, but we now have access to a new line in the tech tree. So we've got beam weapons and better mining turrets, but we've already picked up both of these from the ground, so we don't need them right now. A drone, which we've also picked up a couple times, except there's now a cargo drone, so we could send it out to pick up containers off of the tops of mountains and stuff without needing to drive up there. Defense towers for you can put guns on them and protect your base. Control box sensor and security poles that are useful to block off people from getting into your outpost. And then finally, there are the automation sensors. So they detect various things, like if there's sunlight around, and it'll turn lights on and off at nighttime, that sort of thing. But what it looks like we should get right now is probably protection 1, so that we have new shocks and wheels to be able to drive around a lot easier. So I'm going to go with that one. And then once that kicks in, we need to check our electricity usage. So the science lab is now using 25 electricity. Wind turbines are generating just over 25, but the small ore extractor is trying to use 5, and we're for short, so we need some new windmills before all that can be powered. It can be placed anywhere within the bounds of the outpost, so just it doesn't matter where they go, so they will provide power to the outpost. So we place one more down, we'll check the power, and now we are two power short. So we probably need 2 more windmills. Okay, now it looks like we're just squeaking by with enough electricity, and we are free to do whatever we like now that the outpost is up and running. From here, you would want to build defenses, research more technology, and build up the base so that other players can't take it over if you're on a multiplayer server. And if not, you can start doing things like combat simulations, exploring the world some more. There's a bunch of hidden things out there that you might want to check out, and you can just generally keep expanding your base. And that's how to get started with the game.